you're in a team sport, I think that'd be even easier, I would have thought, if you're in a rugby team or if you're in a hockey team, to be able to say, okay, this is something that's interesting me, what do you guys think of this? I think a lot of it is having the bravery and courage to start these conversations. Because I recognise that sport is not just doing the thing, in the pool, on the track, on the pitch. Sport is massive. And that it relates to this, which is, again, too complicated. It's about input and output. That's the output. These are all the inputs. And what we're talking about here is adding to the inputs. Great performance is made up of lots of different inputs. And if you master the input, but you've got to be interested in mastery. Any athlete you meet now who's won stuff at the games or won things will be masters of their thing. Right. Anything else? Right, where we go next? You want to go next? Do you want to talk about?
I was going to add on about, they're asking about managing schoolwork and training at this sort of age, but managing social lives and maybe that perception of being different to your peer group.
Yes.
You're not obsessed with training as much as you are and all the rest of it.
Yes.
Certainly the women that you come across and the girls that you come across,
Yes.
like the girls and the women, the girls
So
you want to stand out. How have you any stories or ideas about how people manage that side of their lives?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, take me back to interesting times.
Or even just knowing some of the swimmers that are around now and how they kind of cope with things in this day and age.
Yeah.
Manage social, like Rebecca, managing her social life and swimming.
I think my social life tends to be around my sporting squad. So I kind of some of my friends at school that fell away a bit. I had a sort of tight group of friends at school, 2 or 3, but the majority were in the swimming club. And that was my social group. Because what was interesting then was, because it was too hard with some of those people that didn't do sport, because what was accepted, not accepted, it rubbed up too hard, you know. And so with the swimmers, if we all were knackered and went to bed early, or we got up early, then we were all doing the same thing, you know. Hi, come in. Come in, there's a seat over here. Yeah, so I think it's quite interesting, because I think you have to choose your friends, obviously, and they'll choose you. But I wasn't in a big social group at school. I felt quite isolated at school, actually, when I was a kid, from being a swimmer. And in the end, the only way I worked it out was I decided it was cool to be uncool. I thought, oh shit, I'm so different, people think I'm a bit odd, so I might as well just believe that that's cool, so that's fine. Worked for me. And so in the end, it was me and 2 other nerds that were kind of in the corner, just sort of hanging out. Because there weren't many swimmers at my school, so many of us sort of sports people. So I was kind of in a group, but I was okay with it in the end. I was bullied for a couple of years, actually, when I was 11 and 12. So I went through that, which wasn't much fun. But that sort of made me work out who my friends were and what I needed. And what I found was, lots of people are different and unique. Well, everybody is, actually. And everybody has a sort of a place. But I found my place with the swimming squad because we were like each other, like we were a similar social group. And I just think that people, I know this actually, people that just want to isolate you have got something going on for themselves anyway. So it's never been confident that the path you're taking is a good one for you. And you don't need to do things for other people. Just be careful doing things for other people, because other people you try to fit in. Because you ask yourself what you're fitting into, I think. And I like fitting into the swimming squad, because they're people like me. And I could identify with them. So it's a bit difficult. I had a good mate at school, and we kept close actually, but he was somebody who understood it and didn't give me grief about it, actually. It is a challenge as you go through life. But you need people to understand you, understand what you're going through.
Was there any point when you really thought, I don't want to do this? It's not, when you said that you plateaued, was there a point that you really thought, I'm going to make the decision to stop swimming, but then something spurred you on and you've been
Not when I was a kid, because the fire was burning so bright in me. because that was my, I wanted to win for all sorts of reasons and be good for all sorts of reasons. So I was quite dedicated and determined. I was a guy who got down quite a bit, when I wasn't doing best times. I lost a few races and training got really hard, because the other thing that you will all know is one of the two things you've got to deal with are being tired all the time, a lot of the time, and dealing with pain. You can't deal with pain, you're not going to be a sports person. So, sometimes it got really painful. My body hurt. And, when you push yourself beyond where you need to go, or where you need to get to a place to be stronger, fitter, whatever, that's horrible. It hurts. And so, but I used to work out a way of getting through that. This is temporary, pain's temporary. You stop, it stops after a while. And then in the race, it's the same thing. But I never wanted to stop because of that. I wanted to often stop. Yeah, as you always say, often you'd have that thought. You think, God, is it worth it? Yeah, I haven't won a race for a while. In fact, I haven't entered a race for a while. We were 3 months through the winter. We hadn't done a race. So I was knackered all the time. I felt horrible. I think, why am I doing this? But then I thought, well, actually, I can't do anything else. I'm not very good at anything else. I might as well carry on. That's true. And so I carried on. I almost retired after I lost the Olympics when I was 20, 1984. It's good. I couldn't work that out. I thought I was better than that. I came fourth, by the way, but I thought I should have won it. And so that was difficult. But it's interesting. Have you done much on self-belief and confidence with them?
Spoken about it.
Yeah.
But we've not done anything in any sort of detail.
So, okay, so I think the thing that this underpins a lot of things for me, and hopefully you'll pick up on this when you do it, but the self-belief bit is, when you think about how good you are, or how good you might be, you have to know how to hold on to things you've done well. Right? A bedrock of self-belief comes from being able to use a phrase, anchoring your successes. So the phrase you are, I'll tell you this as a phrase now, which is true. You are as good as the things you've done. Okay, so what you have done so far in your lives, that is, you're good. Okay, some people say you're only as good as the next thing you do, which is not true. You're as good as what you've done now. Your ability to believe it and hold on to it is very important, and that's why this thing is important. Because some of you might not have won races, or might not have got the position you want, or achieved something you want at that level, but I bet you're bloody good at some of these things. And you've got to know what you're good at. And you've got to hold on to it and go, you know what, I am pretty good at that. Or that bit I'm pretty good at. Because sometimes you go through tough times. I do what I call a belief wall. So what I would do is I would get, a series of circles and a piece of paper. And write in the things that I feel good about, that I've done well. And this started, I started to do this after I wish I'd known it earlier. But I started to do it after I lost the Olympics when I was 20. So I came fourth, right? I remember sitting with a sports psychologist afterwards and started thinking about quitting. And he said, okay, let's just work out, because I don't think I'm going to win it again. He said, look, let's just work out how good you are now. Let's work out what you're good at. And so he said, so who beat you then in the Olympics? You were fourth. I said, it was Steve Lundquist, Victor Davis, Pete Jones. He said, yeah, no, what nationalities were they? I said, well, okay, American, Canadian, Australian. He said, so you're the European champion then? Right, American, Australian, Canadian, those in the geography. Non-Europe. So he said, you are the European champion in the race. Write it down. What do you mean? He said, write it down, European champion, 1984. Okay. So I wrote it down. So I was a European champion, 1984. He said, okay, so let's just take your race apart. What sort of things are you really good at? And I was quite good. I was known for being good in the last 15 metres of the race. Last 15 metres of the race, one of the best in the world. What else are you good at? Well, I'm good at, my strength work, my flexibility. I'm really good at flexibility. Okay, write that down. You have great flexibility. Okay, what was the last race? And he built this thing of the things that I'd done that got me to even be in the Olympic Games. Made the British team at 15. I was on the senior team at 15, by the way. So I made the British senior team at 15. That was pretty good, get that down. So you still built, I won the Commonwealth Games at 18. Write that down. So I built all this picture of the things that I'd done. And then when you look at that, you go, I'm actually pretty good. I'm all right. I might not have got that medal, but actually I'm all right. And I think sometimes when you go through phases of not having stuff go well, You have to remind yourself of how good you are. You wouldn't be in this room if you weren't good. Okay? So you've got to work out why you're in this room and what you need to write down. And that's your platform to go forward. Because I think the other thing that I know to be true, if you're coming from the island, is when you go over to the mainland, whatever you call it, over to England and into competitions over there, it might not be as easy. It might be a bit difficult. You might lose a few. You might struggle because here, it's all going well. You kind of know it's good. But all of a sudden, there's loads of them out there, and it might come a bit at you. So I think knowing what you're good at and keep on building and adding to this. So these things go hand in hand. This I would call belief for the things you've done well, and that is the things you're gonna. It's a combination of things you are good at. But then when you work on these things and you get some real success, you stick them in there. And I did this. By the way, I did this exercise the night before I won the Olympics. I was in Seoul in Korea. And I sat in my bedroom. I got a piece of paper and I wrote down all the reasons I was going to win the Olympics. All the things I'd done, all the achievements, what I'd won. I was world number 1 at the time, it was quite useful. So I wrote world number 1, beaten them all before. And then different parts of my race that I was good at, different things in my training I was confident about. And that became my belief wall. And I walked out for the race believing I was going to win it. When people say they believe they're going to win it, it's because they've accepted they're good at stuff. In Great Britain, we're great at knocking ourselves, and people say, oh, you don't get above yourself, you shouldn't be, don't get too arrogant. It's different. This is different. This is inside yourself, knowing what you're good at. So, that's that.
So while you were training, and obviously you mentioned that you broke the world record on a number of occasions. When, before you were the world record holder, and as you were coming through, obviously we all watched Petey this summer, and he did something which nobody thought possible. Nobody thought he would hold on to. He went out like a lane 1 guy, didn't he? Yeah. Everyone looked at him and went, he's never going to hold on to that pace. It's just too fast. Yeah. Was there anything in your training that you and Teddy sat down and said, you know what, we're going to do something training that no one else has ever done? Or was it something that extreme that it was kind of, we're going to do the unthinkable? Or was your progress more I'm just going to work harder than everybody else is, I'm going to put more, the Daley Thompson sort of work I did, that I'll do that one day, I'll train Christmas Day because he's not. Was it that, or was it something that absolutely was completely out of the box at the time?
Well, the Daley Thompson, when he said, I'll train Christmas Day because they're not.
Yeah.
He heard one of his drivers was training Christmas Day, so he trained twice on Christmas Day.
Well, yeah.
That's a story, that's a true story. So yeah, he upped his training on Christmas Day. He found somebody who was training him like he was. No, I had a combination of both. I did work hard, but at one time Terry and I broke my dive apart. So we recognised that, it was actually after I'd won the Olympics, and he said, right, we've got to go for the world record now, so I didn't break the world record at the Games. He said, so I've just been watching you dive, and we analysed it, and we reckoned that I was 0.2 behind the top 5 in the world, and so we've got to get that better. So I went to Switzerland and did some underwater filming, and we just completely took it apart. I started to do some dives off a 3-metre board, and to look at the angle that I could go into the water and how I could get momentum and arch out of the water and come to the surface. So we broke that apart for 3 months and analysed it and reconstructed it. And I lost about 4 races that I should have won because I was making it up again. And then when it came good, I was 3.3 ahead of the rest of the world. And I broke the world record that year by 0.7, I think. Yeah, so we took that apart. The other thing was, on the pacing thing, we used to push it in practice races. I mean, I say practice races like district, northeast counties. I'd go into some races and I'd go out like a crazy, and it would hurt like hell. And we'd work out where my tipping point was. So the only way to work out where your point is before you actually completely blown it is by going there. So we'd do it in some heats. I'd do a heat of a 200 breaststroke. I'd go out and we'd go, okay, well, normally on 200 breaststroke you go out in a 60, let's say 63. Let's try 61 and see what happens. And you know what's going to happen, but you kind of, and then he said next time, say, right, so go out in 62 this time, see if that's all right. And it's like, so we did try those things, and you've got to try that pacing. But no, Terry was very innovative. I mean, all sports. I'm very conscious we're talking a bit about swimming because I'm a swimmer, but I think to find out, there's something about copying other people and not reinventing, because there's some really great stuff out there. So you kind of know what the field is, what's going on out there, what the greatest are doing. But then the other one is where you go, okay, can I do something radical in that area? You can't do it all. So what I would do, and me and Terry did it quite a lot, we travelled to the States, to Australia, to Russia, to find out what was going on, what they were doing. And then we'd say, okay, that's worth copying, we'll have that bit of that, and we'll do that. And then we'd go, okay, well that area, nobody's really got it yet. Let's see if we can break it in there, if that sounds interesting. When we trained in Russia, we went there and they were using, in the gym, they were using this machine for breaststroke. It had a big back plate, and you sort of lie on the bench and went up the rails, and you used to kick off this thing. It's a sort of slidey trolley, and you kick your own body weight off, like a breaststroke kick off this board, and they would do like kick sets, pushing your body weight up and down this thing. And it was a good machine actually. I felt my legs were getting strong. I was there for about 2 months. And when we got back, Terry said, I've drawn that machine. He said, and he went to an engineering company in Leeds and got them to make one. And we had this machine, got them to make two. We had 2 in Leeds of these machines that they used in Russia. Magpies, that's what we were, magpies.
How willing were the people in Russia and the coaches in the States, and how willing were they to sort of let the main competition come in and see what you were doing? And how willing would Terry have been to have the world number 2
come into my place
for a bit and see what Adrian does?
I think I actually don't know what it's like now, but it was pretty open then. I mean, Russia we had to get a special, because that was before the war, so that was, we had to get a special invitation to that. I was surprised how open they were, actually. We went to the main breaststroke training centre. But I think a lot of methodologies are known now. You know, as you say, you can't hide much now. So the internet, people will, and so I actually think people are quite open. British cycling isn't. There's no way you could get anywhere near the British cycling team. I don't know. I think you just got to work with people. You work out where you can get information. But it wouldn't stop me. Let's say, if I thought somebody was a bit closed, I'd still try and push it and find out. So winning mastery. So the other thing is curiosity. If I think about the qualities, the thing I'm describing here is curiosity. You really, if you're in something, just be curious about what you're doing. Interested, open. Where can I find more out? Be a student of your sport. Yeah.
Just a quick question about, I'm from a team-based sport background, and it's a question of swimming is quite soloist, and a lot of you talking is about you and your coach and your goals.
Yes.
But it must have been important for you to, for instance, like you were talking about going to Russia and training with other athletes.
Yes.
What kind of bond was it within your own team, especially in the periods where it does get hard at school?
Yes.
Are you not winning?
Yes.
The emotional
support
within the team with that.
It's critical. And for some of the swimmers in the room, I spent more time with my mates in the swimming squad than I did with my brother or with my parents. Yeah. So I knew those kids, my friends in swimming, more than other friends. And so swimming's very social. You do your race by yourself, but actually you travel, you do competitions, you all go together, you cheer each other on, you're in relays together. So, but within the squad, I wasn't mates with all 25, but I found a group of 4 or 5 that were really good friends. And in the end, we lived together.
And with training though, what my question was, is it important to have that relationship in training to push yourself as an athlete as well, as that emotional?
Yeah, I find, I used to try and, when in Leeds, there were 3 or 4 of us breaststrokers, we had a good breaststroke squad, and the best moments were when we all worked together. We'd race each other, but it would be intense, but then we would share stuff. Yeah. And the guy called James Parrick I trained with, in 1991, I was world number 1 and he was world number 2. And we trained in the same squad in Leeds. And we used to share information, but when we get in a race, Terry'd set us some sort of hard set. We'd race each other hard. But then we'd laugh and joke, and he'd give us the same article, and we'd talk about it, what do we think about it. We actually lived together, me, him, and another guy. we got a house when we were 22 and used to live in the same house. Like students, but not opposite day. Go to bed at 9 o'clock, get up at 5. They used to share stuff. Yeah, the best ones are where it's healthy competition versus destructive competition within a squad. And I read quite a lot about this with Terry, and we talked a lot, because I was team captain, about creating a squad structure that had healthy competition where we could support each other, share stuff, be good friends, but know we wanted to beat each other rather than destruct each other.
Yeah.
So there's a way of doing that, and it worked really well in the lead squad.
What would you like to be at the Olympics?
This time, the Rio ones. The Rio ones, the Olympics is really exciting. It's a great place. So when I got tired in training, it's the thing I used to think about going to the Olympic Games. And so at the Olympic Park, where the swimming pool was, there were probably, I think, there were 9 or 10 different venues. A swimming pool, and then just 200 yards away was the velodrome, was the basketball court, was the volleyball, handball. There was a tennis centre. So you could walk on this place. Have you been to Stratford, the London Park? No. So what you've got is it's like a big, maybe, I don't know, like this, but massive. And like lots and lots of big world-class buildings. And what you've got is you have loads and loads of spectators. It's like going to a big football game, a huge football game, but with 4 times as many people. And what they do is you all go in the gates, and then they go to their various venues, the swimming or the tennis or the velodrome. And so lots of people with national flags walking around. And like at night with floodlights, it's quite electric actually. It's a great environment to be in. The swimming pool was inside, it was an indoor pool, but it was temporary, so they could take it down. It's a 50-metre temporary pool, but it looked like it was inside. They had a cover on it, but actually it was all dismantlable, so they could take it down. So it won't be there now. I bet it's not there now. But, oh no, they had it for Paris. They'll be taking it down now. When you go to Olympic Games, you've got different groups of people. So the athletes are in one village, so they sit in a whole village, and so, I can't remember now, is it about 15, 20,000, 18,000 people in the Olympic Village? So what is that? That's probably 15% of the Isle of Man population is the Olympic Village, 20%. And that is all the athletes, all the support staff, and everybody. They stay in the village, and there's a restaurant that's open 24 hours a day. I think they now have free McDonald's, which I can't work out. I don't know why we have free McDonald's in the Olympic Village. Still. And then you have, when we're in my Olympic Village, there's a cinema, there's a bowling alley, shops. It's a proper village. You get any food you want, any time you want. That's dangerous. If you do that after you finish competing. And then, so the other thing about being at the Olympics is when you go down to, like downtown, to shopping areas, there's lots of people with different tracksuits on and flags, and it's quite exciting. Lots of people cheering for things. And in Rio, a lot of things were happening around the beach area. So I don't know if you've heard of, there's a place called Copacabana Beach, in Ipanema Beach, and there was a lot of events happening there. In fact, we got down there because the open water swimming was being held, but just off the sea. So Andy and I commentated from the Copacabana Beach, which was quite nice. Oh, we couldn't see anything. Because on open water swimming, they all go out and then swim around and then come back again. And so we were sitting there and we had to watch from our TV.